We have come to the speaking portion of our evening, and I hate to cut off what sound like rousing democratic conversations. But it's a political fundraiser, and we didn't serve you rubber chicken, so the speaking part has to come, right? Words really cannot express how pleased I am to welcome you to the first inaugural Eleanor Roosevelt Days Banquet. It takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. Eleanor Roosevelt. If you have received emails from me, and most of you have probably received many, you may have noticed that this quote is my signature line. You also may have observed that this quote was my signature line long before we ever chose to rename our banquet. And my interns and regular volunteers who have had some experience with Krista's lists in the office can tell you how appropriate this quote is to my nature, and also how very much I adore Eleanor Roosevelt. She has long been a hero of mine. I'm Krista Stark, and I'm the Executive Director of Southwest Missouri Democrats. I'm also the Chair of the 7th Congressional District. And in both of these capacities, it is my duty, but also my great pleasure, to get to know all Democrats in the Southwest Missouri area. So if you're here with us this evening and we haven't met, please make sure you introduce yourself to me before the end of the evening. I would really love to hear why you chose to come tonight and why you choose to be a Democrat in Southwest Missouri. There are so many reasons that I identify with, work, and volunteer for the Democratic Party. One of my many reasons is my lifelong philosophy of inclusion over exclusion. The Democratic Party not only makes inclusion and diversity part of our party platform, but we work in functional ways to make our society more inclusive and to celebrate diversity in tangible ways. When we began discussing a name change for our yearly event, the idea of finding a new honoree who embodied these ideals of inclusion and diversity was important to us, and so was democracy. So we had a nominating process, and then we voted on a list of many worthy nominees. And when the voting was completed, one nominee had more votes than all the other suggested honorees combined. Southwest Missouri Democrats had voted overwhelmingly to honor our only female nominee. Our 32nd First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, will be the person that we honor with our yearly banquet tonight and into the future. And I am so pleased about that, and I hope that you are all pleased about that with me. We will honor not only the First Lady in her memory, but we will also honor her life's work. Eleanor Roosevelt's programs and philosophies were instrumental in creating the atmosphere of inclusion and that the Democratic Party has a desire to celebrate, and the diversity that we are familiar with today. We are not today really the party of Andrew Jackson. We are much more the party of Eleanor Roosevelt. And I think that she would be so proud of our progress. And I think that she would be particularly proud of Democrats in areas like Southwest Missouri. We stand and fight in an area that is so red, an area where we have hearts of blue, and the people around us seem to blindly vote for Republicans against their own interests. Eleanor actually did travel to Joplin twice, so there is a connection to this area with Eleanor Roosevelt, even though she's not one of our Missouri politicians. And the person that nominated her went to a lot of trouble to find those connections and present them before the vote. Many of you know who nominated her. And she traveled here twice, first on October 18th, 1938, and second on April 15th, 1940. And we know this because she wrote about Joplinites in her newspaper column. And she went into some detail about how she was impressed with the Democrats of Joplin. And we do indeed have impressive, hardworking Democrats here in this area. So many of you in this room have dedicated your time, your effort, your money, your blood, sweat, and tears to Democratic causes and candidates. And so I really think we need to give ourselves a round of applause. Many of you joined us earlier this year for our celebration honoring Suzanne Carney and her husband, Ben.
The rec center will be closing in 5 minutes. I repeat, the rec center will be closing in 5 minutes. Please make your way to the exit.
None of us are in the rec center, so that doesn't matter that much. All right, so Suzanne and Ben Carnahan were honored earlier this year with the Southwest Missouri Lifetime Activist Democratic Award that we awarded. We awarded it at a ceremony earlier this year. I would like for Suzanne to stand up and again be recognized. And if there's anyone who embodies the spirit of Eleanor Roosevelt, it is Suzanne. And I am really proud to call her my friend. Many of our Southwest Missouri Democrats and our unions have donated money and time to make tonight possible. Please recognize our generous sponsors for this evening. LEPCI, Laborers Local 319, Carpenters Local Joplin, Teamsters Local 245, Teamsters Local 823, Bud and Sandy Morgan, Chuck and Sherry Buchanan, Jennifer and Patrick Martucci, and Andy Wood. Who gave up their time to prepare for this event. Without this team of dedicated Democrats, tonight would not have been possible. So please recognize with me Joe Cowan, Jason Stark, Doug Brooks, Jim Fleischaker, Elliot Denniston, Andrew Whitehead, Genevieve Williams, Sherry Buchanan, Karen Riley, Mel Coffey, and Fawn North. The Eleanor-themed decor for this evening and the many faces of our First Lady at her different ages and in different stages of her life and the quotes that surround you this evening. And without my decorating committee, these labors of love that we have always referred to as the most beautiful centerpieces in the world would not have been possible. So I would like to give some special recognition and some special thank yous to Sherry Buchanan and Fawn North and Mel Coffey, as well as Karen, because they were really a labor of love. So enjoy them, and they're going to be used from year to year. This evening we are also joined by several young Democrats, including our next Democratic generation. And it is an important goal of Southwest Missouri Democrats to include our young people and our youth. So if you're a young Democrat in the room tonight and you identify with either college young Democrats or high school young Democrats at any college in the area or high school, please stand up. From our auction committee. They want you to make sure that you know that you are still free to bid on auction items while we are speaking this evening. You can quietly go away from your table and bid if you want to get some bids in, because we'll be closing that auction down after our speaking program this evening. The future belongs to those that believe in the beauty of their dreams. Eleanor Roosevelt. Join me in welcoming our delegation of high school young Democrats as they take us on a journey through the life and legacy of First Lady and Ambassador to the United Nations, Eleanor Roosevelt.
Politics. She was First Lady of New York, First Lady of the United States, and Ambassador to the United Nations, appointed by 2 U.S. presidents, and Ultimately, she extended the role of women in society. Anna Eleanor Roosevelt was born October 11, 1884, to Elliott Roosevelt, brother of President Theodore Roosevelt, and Anna Rebecca Hall. On March 17, 1905, she married Franklin D. Roosevelt in New York City. President Theodore Roosevelt walked Eleanor down the aisle and gave her away. Franklin and Eleanor were fifth cousins once removed. Eleanor has 6 children and 5 only survived to adulthood. Eleanor was instrumental in the FDR's New York gubernatorial and presidential campaigns and administrations. She was politically active and public servant in her own right. As an owner of the Todd Hunter School of Finishing and College Preparatory School in New York City for administrations, she also helped upper class girls. She kind of combined a rigorous curriculum to help those girls to design, to think for themselves, and become aware of problems facing others. Our 32nd First Lady, Eleanor, carved out a new, very, very new kind of role that would satisfy her need to be independent and active in the political and public life. And in the interview that she gave on March 4th, 1933, on Inauguration Day, she set her own agenda, and she was focused on reducing the budget for the White House, which was 25%. She also established the social calendar, and she was the president's ears and eyes. 2 days later, she held her very own first conference, and she was the only First Lady to do so. And she announced that she had a get-together with a female reporter once a week. She greeted guests at the White House on her own, no help whatsoever. And she refused to be protected by the Secret Service, and she converted the Lincoln bedroom into her study. Throughout Franklin's first 100 days of being in the White House, she used her influence, and she used her privilege that she had as being the Democrat National Committee to urge the administration to appoint women to influential positions in the New Deal programs. As World War II approached, Eleanor expanded her sphere of influence during what she helped European refugees, including Jews that were trying to escape from the Nazi European, and worked with many groups, including the Emergency Rescue Committee and the U.S. Committee for the Care of European Children. Thank you.